Alert.
Morning. Good morning.
Hey,
Welcome to Cooler
cooler talk.
Talk with Rhonda and Cynthia. And today's topic is, are you ready? Are you
Yes,
ready? Are you ready to accept all the good that is coming your way?
Rhonda, my bags are packed.
So are mine. So are
Yes,
mine.
yes,
Yeah, we can, it's always about choices, isn't it? We can choose to
yes.
look at the cup half full or the cup half empty. We can choose to look at life as one big experience
Mm-hmm.
and opting to respond or react. So
Pretty
which
much.
way do you think? So which way do you think is the more peaceful way to go?
Um,
Res-
from for me, it's pretty clear.
it
Keeping
sure is.
keeping the focus here on really the only thing that is my business. That's the only thing that's my business. Keeping the focus there, and staying out of other people's business and headaches, decluttering, which I don't always prioritize as I should. Um,
Well, you do what you can,
you do what you
and
can. Yeah,
don't be so hard on yourself.
yeah, that's true.
If you make a mistake or if you have a setback, don't beat yourself up about it. Just say, okay, whatever.
Well, and sometimes it's something that you couldn't control anyway, right? So
Right,
really
right.
acknowledging when it's something that you might have had some accountability or responsibility for, and then knowing when you really couldn't have known better or done better, and being gentle with yourself, like you're saying.
Yes, yes. I have a bad habit of beating myself up for making mistakes. Not so much anymore. It takes a lot of practice not to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, how many people go through life thinking they're not supposed to make any mistakes, that it's something shameful to make a mistake or do
Right?
something stupid or embarrass yourself?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? You don't have to take life that seriously. You really don't have to.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
overthinking is a real depressor.
Yeah. For sure. But, I think that's also like we are products of the experiences that we have and the lives that we've led. And, you and I, we probably have been to schools, learning from people who came from another generation, another time when there were different mores. And I mean, I
Mhm.
know I've been shamed for making innocent mistake. I mean, really, like, how can a 5-year old know how to add two numbers? How can they understand the concept of that? And then being shamed for, not
For
running
not
their
being
business
taught
right.
right,
Yeah,
for not being taught properly.
right.
Yeah, that's kind of how I look at it. Yeah, I remember
Yeah,
those days.
yeah.
I didn't seem to pick things up as quickly as a lot of my friends did,
Hmm.
and it was embarrassing.
Yeah.
And I just wish somebody had just sat down and said, "Okay, let's take this from another angle."
Angle.
But those were different times.
Yep.
Everything was black and white. Do this, don't this. This
Yeah.
is the way society works, and you have to fall into that.
Yeah.
You have to fall into that prepared scenario, no matter how you feel, whether you enjoy it or not.
Yeah.
You have to do things out of obligation, not because you want to do it.
Yeah. There was
And times
definitely,
have.
yeah, a cookie
Mhm.
cutter sort of mentality that, like, if you fit in the mold, then you will succeed or
Right.
survive in
Yeah.
life. I don't know what the measure of
Yeah.
success back in those days were, but they didn't really work
It
for
was
me.
money. It was money, 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 property, and prestige.
Right. Or maybe
Um,
getting a
all
career in the
ego and
military.
mind based. Huh?
Or maybe getting a
What?
career in the military or something, which,
Right.
like that was not sort of part of my, I mean, what kid really has sort of like a military mindset, but you need a certain young mind. You need to mold them in a certain way in order to like prepare them for a military future. So
Yeah. Well, that's different. In the military, you really have to, everybody has to be on the same page.
absolutely.
You have to be able to follow instructions. Your life might depend on it if you don't.
Sure.
Um, so, yeah,
But
I can see that.
that would also explain why, that was the mentality back then. I mean, in fact, in the earlier days, going back hundreds of years, I mean, I happen to live in the middle of Europe right now, but the evidence is all around us of like
Yeah.
buildings that have withstood the test of time, but you can still see
Mhm.
that there are like cannonball holes in the side of a castle building or something. That was
Yeah.
their reality. It was like
Mhm.
farming or the military. Those are your choices. So you have to
Yeah.
comply with a certain rhythm, and
Mhm.
you will be ridiculed for failing because the only way to survive is by following this structure. But times have changed.
Well, that's how some people feel, but the world is changing. I feel the world is opening up
Hmm.
to new possibilities.
Hmm.
And I think that information is slowly being introduced to society so they
Hmm.
don't suffer from
Or rapidly.
shock. Yeah. Um, and, you know, it reminds me of accepting the things I cannot change. Doesn't mean I have to like it,
Yep.
but I do need to accept it that it is what it is.
Yeah.
And it seems, looking at it that way seems to take all the emotion out of it.
Yeah.
That's when we get into trouble, I think, is when we get our emotions involved.
Mhm. Mhm.
And fear, and that's usually, I think, fear based,
Yeah.
and whatever positively comes out of doing something based on fear.
Yeah. Nothing.
It, no, it just seems to manifest more fearful
For
situations.
sure.
Going back to that law of attraction,
Yeah. 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 Fear definitely begets fear. And that if you train your little ones to respond only to that, well then it's going to be a difficult life for that
Yeah,
youngin as they
yeah,
grow older. I
yeah,
I know because I've had my share of struggles. And
yeah.
I've also had to sort of go through a process of decluttering my feelings about some of the
Mhm.
people who really made things difficult for me when I was powerless. And I had to sort of go through the exercise of forgiving those teachers who were brutal,
Mhm.
emotionally abusive,
Yeah.
with
Mhm.
my little self and my friends' little selves. That that's a
You talk,
process. And
you say that, and I immediately thought about my fifth grade teacher. She was just a ugly woman. I mean, not
a
talking
bee with an itch.
physically. She had an ugly. She was mean. She was mean. I think her life thrived on guilt, shame, and belittling people.
Yep.
People like
Yep.
that don't belong in the classroom. Um, but look at the
No,
poor
but
kids in
they're everywhere.
Catholic schools. Boy, oh boy, that you would get the whacked with a physically abused
Yep.
with
With the
getting a ruler whacked across your hands, for
Yep.
example. Um,
I used to have a French teacher who walked around with a yardstick.
Jeez.
Yep. And I, all I tried to do was fade away. And this is an energetic, 4-year-old, 5-year-old. Like we all had lots of energy, but that was her way of controlling the room.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she was definitely an unhappy person, without a doubt. She didn't like me
definitely an
too much
unhappy
either.
person.
Yeah,
So,
I was
but
insecure,
now,
and she just capitalized on it. You know,
yeah.
when
And,
someone's
you
down,
know,
why do people have to beat when someone's down? Why do people have to beat someone who's down already and try to beat them down further? I never understood that. That's a problem on their part, actually.
yeah,
You know, they did you feel so that do you feel that does that make you feel important to put somebody else
yeah,
down to make yourself feel better? Well,
they
that's
feel
a
that weak.
fallacy. What land are
They
you
feel
living in?
that weak. Yeah. So, all of that to say that I have decluttered, or I'm going through a constant process of decluttering. This year has been a lot about a physical decluttering, getting rid of extra books, things that just don't serve me anymore. But also, there's that emotional decluttering, getting rid of those beliefs and lessons that no longer serve you. Um, the relationships that you have or had that no longer serve you, that are really detrimental to you. And I do feel better. I feel lighter. And yes, I mean it when I say my bags are packed. I am ready. I am ready to like enter the next chapter. It so happens that I am going to go on vacation next week. So I will be gone for the next couple weeks, but my bags are packed. I'm ready. I'm ready for whatever's to come. And 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 it'll all be good. It's all going to work out. Yeah. So, are you ready? I think. I think to be ready physically, emotionally. Actually, speaking of physically, you know, if you have to do something like test your physical prowess, play a game, or perform at, I don't know, perform on a stage, or even, present a presentation to your leaders or anything, you need to go through a process of, really removing the non essentials and focusing on very specific elements that you need to bring to your presentation, to your game. Do you need to work on your, I don't know, your 3-point shoot? Whatever it is, you can tell I don't play basketball. Um, you have to work on those things. And sometimes the precursor to practicing your moves or your presentation or your next step is actually getting rid of, creating the space for being ready. Um, my husband, as you all know, he's a chef. And he is very disciplined about mise en place. And if you're a foodie and you like to follow the hot chefs around the world, they're all about mise en place. It's really about knowing what ingredients they're going to use, what kind of equipment they have, what kind of tools they might need, and having them at the ready so that they can move in a seamless manner across the kitchen, especially during food service, so that they can get your food out consistently, so that they can, get a lot of that. They can, drive volume in their food prep. And that's all about mise en place, which is really an exercise of creating the space, cleaning the kitchen, having a clean surface to work off of, cleared surface to work off of, And also, then being able to say, okay, what are the essentials? What are the essential tools, the essential ingredients, the essential equipment that I need in order to deliver that quality consistently and also at volume? So that's something I learned working with my husband and launching a restaurant with him. And I think, though, that the mindset of getting ready is about clearing that space so that you can lay the groundwork. That you have a cleared space upon which to build a plan and move forward in that space. And part of that process also requires, that mental readiness, that emotional readiness. If you spent your formative years being, shamed every step of the way, your ability to perform at a high level will be stymied by the fact that you've been shamed along the way. And you are going to have to reconcile yourself with that you're not responsible for somebody else's judgment of your performance at that time when you were not yet fully developed. It's really a matter of looking at yourself in the mirror, seeing that you don't have to take on some of the things that have been put upon you, and then creating that sort of clear mise en place, like, right, what tools do I need? What equipment do I need? What ingredients do I need in order to deliver, the best meal consistently all day, every day at volume to my customers or to myself? Yeah. So actually, it's very interesting. So I've told you about my vacation that I'm about to go on, and I'm gonna have to pack light. Oh, here's Rhonda. She's back. Wonderful. We lost you there for a second.
Boy, I'll say first you disappeared, and then I was getting nowhere.
You just
Hello. Don't
blipped
please
blipped off the screen.
continue.
So I was just telling viewers about how I'm going off on vacation, and that actually I had to also kind of go through um, this process of creating the space first, almost like a decluttering before packing,
Mhm.
because we're going to be moving around a lot. So I want to make sure to have small luggage. I don't want to lug around a big suitcase. And I have to be very clear about what I want to have. And so I was talking about how there was first the process of removal, decluttering, clearing that space, and understanding that space within which I can work for and be away for 18 days. So, and then I got these packing cubes, which I'm very excited about. So I've packed all of my
Oh,
things in these
yeah.
cubes, and I've been able to Tetris them into my suitcase. And I think I've managed to cram more into that small suitcase than I
Nice.
have ever crammed in there before, thanks to the cubes.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm ready.
I did that when I went in Canyon for 3 weeks. And
Use packing cubes?
no, I didn't. I don't think they were
Okay.
available at the time, but I used
Mm-hmm.
very lightweight materials, picked,
Yep.
very choosy on the shoes, um,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
packed very, very, very lightly. And it worked out. So the stuff was dry and dry real fast. So, yeah.
Yeah. And planning to do laundry. Also it's just about maybe creating that space even in your mind to help you plan for that, time in the future. So, I mean, I don't have, this is probably too much information for most of you all, but I don't have 18 sets of underwear. I just do laundry more frequently. So I'll be washing my undergarments on this trip, but that way I can
Wow.
travel a little later,
Well, yeah, that's the way to do it.
right?
Yeah, you have to do that.
Mhm.
Um, and the seas that's what the seasoned travelers do.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I guess it's all about being ready, and being able to, like, I don't know how the weather is going to be over the next. I mean, it's wonderful that I can, consult my phone and see the next 10 days of weather, more or less, but it doesn't go
Mhm.
as far out as 18 days. And,
Right.
even if it did, I still think the weather would surprise us. So, I'll still have to, especially in Europe, I'll still have to plan for any kind of weather. I mean, it can be 100 and something degrees, but it could also go down to 65 degrees. And then I would be a very unhappy summer vacationer. But I have packed for most any kind of weather. No snowstorms.
Very good. Yeah, when I went out to Arizona, of course, I knew it was going to be hot. How
Yeah.
hot? A couple days there, I wasn't prepared for 106 degrees, which was cool for. But you drink a lot of water, and
Hmm.
anything you anything you there's no perspiring out there because everything evaporates immediately.
Right.
So,
So hot.
so we knew to drink a lot of water, and I did get heat stroke, heat exhaustion. One day we were out hiking in the canyons, with all the stripes and walking through
Uh-huh.
those slot canyons. But I just sat down, chilled out, drank some water, and recovered. Yeah. The
Yeah.
desert life is
Yeah.
great when it's winter on the East Coast. But that summer heat, and we were there in mid to late September, and it was still pretty hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's, actually, I'm kind of glad that we're brushing against this topic. Are you ready? And being prepared. And, I think you and I, we've done quite a bit of talking about being prepared,
Mhm.
which is good. But I think more importantly, and I know that you're on this wavelength as well, Rhonda, it's really that, like, mental and emotional readiness. And sometimes, when you're trying to set into doing something new and you're realizing that there's some kind of resistance there. And
Mhm.
that's when you have the signal that, like, the emotional readiness isn't quite there yet. Maybe because you had a fifth grade teacher who is a bee with an itch, who really wanted to destroy young minds' lives. Yeah. So, and that's a process that you have to go through as well. It's just to kind of, let that go, because that's the thing that's going to, as ready as you might think you are, it's going to be the thing that keeps you from moving forward with that new direction.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, as long as you're moving forward, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes going
Yeah.
backwards a little bit is good just because there needs to be more work to be done, if you will.
There's more work to be, but that's still, I don't even know if that's moving backwards, right? I mean, that's still,
Not
that's
really.
still moving
It feels
forward.
like it. It feels like
Yeah.
it. They say that when the student is ready, the teachers appear.
Uh-huh.
And if something's happening and it just won't go away, well,
Yes.
you didn't get it yet. You haven't
Yeah.
you haven't your eyes haven't opened to the message.
Yeah.
What are you supposed to learn from it? So I told you one time about me asking for patience to
Yes.
learn more about patience. And my life turned into chaos for a full week. It was crazy. I thought the top of my head was going to pop off. And then later in the week, I was at a meeting somewhere listening to someone talk, and I'm like, that's what's happening. And as soon as I realized what was happening and took a different perspective, it stopped.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hear a lot of talk about us being creators, and
Yeah.
we do create our own environment. It may not seem like it at some time, but you know, when we're in situations, we got to remember we always have a choice. We have a choice to
Yeah.
stay or leave. We have
Yeah.
that choice,
Yep.
and it's not an easy choice. Don't get me wrong, but and sometimes just making a decision is just quit worrying about whether it's right or wrong. Just make a decision, and the more
Yeah.
you practice making decisions, the easier it gets to make sounder decisions. Because then
Right.
you have something to learn from, um,
Yeah.
and a reference point. So most of my life, I was very gullible, very naive, and but I got a wake up call, and I'm glad I did, and I'm glad I was willing to try something different.
You were ready.
Yeah, I was ready.
You were
Um,
ready.
if nothing changes, nothing changes, they say,
Yeah.
and so it's a long process. It's different for each of us. Um, but it's just basically it boils down to what do you want to get out of your life?
Yep.
Are you ready to get uncomfortable? To get comfortable?
I like that. Are you ready to snag the good stuff? Are you ready to see
Yes,
it when it appears? You know?
yes,
And like
yes.
wake up every day and be like, I'm ready. It's my birthday.
You know it. Yes, yes.
Because, and it's really interesting, but it's the first main ingredient is being ready and like declaring it to yourself, you know,
Yeah,
that you're ready
yeah.
for it. And so when it appears, there isn't this indecision or do I trust it? Don't I trust it? No, you're ready. You got ready for this moment. You've been ready for this moment. Every moment that you've lived has led you to this point
Exactly.
that's being offered to you right now.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah. So
for sure.
you can thank those people who gave you a hard time because they really just got you ready for the good
Well, yes,
things
they did.
right
And
now.
I'm very grateful for them because they were the catapults for change.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And I think on
So
that note,
once
Rhonda,
I got, huh?
I
What's
was
that?
just gonna say on that note, we're at the top of the hour, but I want to hear your story.
Oh, well, now just once I finally got past the point of why do I keep showing up for this situation when it just brings me pain and misery? Why,
Hmm.
why do I keep showing up for that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
You have the choice.
yeah,
You can decide today I'm
yeah.
not going to show up for that. I'm going to show up for my birthday party.
That's right.
I'm just going to drive past Go and go directly to Park Place.
Yeah, yeah. And it's hard to do that when you have perceived
A routine.
obligations, and just because, well, I don't know. I'll stop at that. I'll stop there.
Well, it is not easy because it is
Yeah.
part of our conditioning, but
Mhm.
realizing that it is part of our conditioning and that we do have the power to shift our perception of the
Mhm.
moment and choose
Mhm.
something better for ourselves, that is already the big shift.
Mhm.
that is the biggest
Yeah.
shift.
Agreed.
You can take out the trash. And
Yes,
then,
you can.
pack your bags with the good stuff.
That's right. That's right. Get rid of that junk.
Get rid of the junk. Well, I don't know if
Cool.
you can hear the church bells tolling over on my side, which
No.
means we have reached the top of the hour. So
Okay. Well, with that, our
we
watchers,
bid you
thank you
adieu.
for joining us. Cece, it's always good to see you.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, are you ready? Are you ready for the
Are
good
you
stuff?
ready?
We'll see you
I
next
am.
week.
Ciao for now.